Hello everyone. Now, this is the webinar series organized by the Climate Change Department, Government of Gujarat. Today is the third webinar of the series. I will request Shri Bijal Shah, Director, Gujarat Energy Development Agency, to welcome all.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. In today's webinar on the subject of innovations in climate change, adaptation and mitigation, I welcome our Principal Secretary of Climate Change Department, Sri S.J. Haider sir, the renowned speakers of today's webinar, Professor Srivastav, the Vice Chancellor from Shakalchan University, and Ms. Namrata from WRI India. May I request our Principal Secretary, Sri Haider sir, to deliver his speech on the occasion.
Good afternoon, everybody. Esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. In these trying times, while we are making every effort to restore normalcy to the fullest, our department, Climate Change Department of the Government of Gujarat, would like to make the most of the time on hand and has been organizing a webinar series of 8 webinars by different domain experts hailing from various organizations under the theme of climate change and COVID-19. Today happens to be the third webinar in the series. Professor Dr. V.K. Srivastava, Vice Chancellor and Provost of Shakalchan Patel University, is going to speak on innovations in climate change, adaptation and mitigation. We are indebted to Professor Srivastava for sparing his valuable insight on this important subject of innovations. Professor Srivastava is not new to me. He has been associated with the Climate Change Department for quite some time now. And I must say that he has displayed a lot of positivity and always shown his eagerness and willingness to lend a helping hand to the government and the department for a noble cause. And I would like to take this opportunity to gratefully acknowledge the important role played by Professor V.K. Srivastava, as also eminent faculty members from various other institutes like the Indian Institute of Management, the Indian Institute of Technology, and other institutes who have played a very important role in helping us formulate the way forward insofar as addressing the concerns arising out of climate change is concerned. Innovation with the use of traditional knowledge and practices can take us to solutions for any challenge. Without innovation, we cannot make any progress. Since climate change affects everyone differently based on their geographical location and exposure, their solutions have to be unique, corresponding to their circumstances, In other words, they should be tailor-made to the requirements. In Gujarat, we have seen some of the innovative projects like canal top solar plant, solar park on wasteland, policy for wind solar hybrid in order to maximize the use of grid infrastructure and harness energy in the state to a greater extent. Moreover, we are looking forward to some research projects which will foster startup and entrepreneur culture in Gujarat while resolving the challenges of climate change. Oil extraction from algae, carbon capture and storage for enhanced oil recovery are some of the future projects taking shape in the state of Gujarat in the climate change department, although I must say that these happen to be essentially at a nascent stage. Use of rooftop for harnessing solar energy has been the result of such innovation of mounting solar panels on existing building without allocating separate land for it. Land, as all of us know, happens to be a very scarce commodity. So independent parcels of land, we can ill afford to earmark them exclusively for the purpose of production of solar energy. Today, Gujarat ranks first in the country in solar rooftop installation with more than 1 lakh commissioned solar rooftop systems in the state. We are looking at 8 lakh solar rooftop installations in the state in the next 3 to 4 years. And I am sure that with the present momentum, we would definitely go on to achieve the target, which is in line with Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi's vision of the installed capacity of 175 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2022. As all of you know, the government of Gujarat, under the then visionary leadership of the then Honorable Chief Minister and presently Prime Minister, Honorable Sri Narendra Modi, way back in September 2009, set up the Climate Change Department. And carrying forward the rich legacy, which at that point of time was contemplated and envisioned by our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Modi. Right now, Gujarat, under the leadership of Honorable Chief Minister Sri Vijay Bhai Rupani and Deputy Chief Minister Sri Nitin Bhai Patel, we are implementing the student startup and innovation policy, which supports young entrepreneurs to convert innovative ideas into business models and develop entrepreneurship spirit in them. A good number of green projects are taking shape under Gujarat's SSIP scheme. We acknowledge the Institute of Climate Change Research, the Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda, World Resources Institute, WRI, the Indian Institute of Technology, Gandhinagar, the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, Dhirubhai Ambani Institute of Information and Communication Technology, and a host of other institutions. And I may kindly be excused since the list is long, I am unable to mention all the names who have associated for this webinar series and in different other capacities in the smooth functioning of the climate change department in helping us to revisit our state action plan on climate change and in different other capacities. I am happy to take note that we have been receiving good recognition from different quarters and stakeholders in spreading quality knowledge among stakeholders through this webinar series. So without much ado, I would like to wind up by once again thanking all of you for your active participation in this webinar series. Thank you once again. Jai Jai Garvi Gujarat. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Principal Secretary, sir, for your opening remarks, which is inspiring all of us. I will request Professor Sanskruti Majumdar, the Director of Institute of Climate Change Research, the Maharaja Sayajirao University, to give her opening remarks.
Thank you, Shwetal bhai. Namaskar and good afternoon to all. The Principal Secretary Climate Change Department, Sri S.J. Haidar Sahab, Joint Secretary Sri Mukesh Shah Sir, Director GEDA Sri Bijal Shah, Ms. Namrata from WRI, Professor V.K. Srivastava Sir, the Vice Chancellor of Sakalchand University and the speaker for the day, Shwetal bhai Shah, the technical advisor, and the participants of this webinar. It takes a lot of efforts to spread information and knowledge about a burning topic, and Climate Change Department, Government of Gujarat has pioneered in a way by initiating this series of webinars on climate change and COVID. Gujarat, as Haider sir has mentioned, has always been a pioneer in new concepts, including setting up the climate change department, first department in India, and also implementing the policies on renewable energy. So, what I would like to say here is that climate change is a phenomena which has been affecting each and every parameter of our lives. But as humans, we are a little selfish and we start taking a note of it only when it reaches to an extent to disturb our own lives. We can take the example of Corona because the title of this webinar series is Climate Change and COVID-19. So COVID-19 actually taught us many things. When there was a lockdown, at that time there were many studies which actually showed that the nature is healing because humans have stopped disturbing it. So in a way we can say that when we have to talk of innovations and climate change adaptation and mitigation today, we have to acknowledge the role of each individual in the climate change, in disturbing nature, and only if each and every individual starts contributing back in the process of mitigation and adaptation, there would be a change. Each drop matters and will lead to a sea. So we have to start thinking of innovations beyond the concept of simply going for plantations or conservation of electricity at individual level, and we have to start reducing our dependence on the government and the policies of the government of implementing, and come up as individuals in innovating new techniques to tackle this problem of climate change. Because only if everyone acknowledges that there is a climate change and I am responsible for this climate change, only then we will try to find a solution to that. There were several studies which mentioned that the lockdown due to the COVID-19 actually saved more lives across the globe because of less pollution compared to the social distancing due to the corona. So that itself can be set as an example to lead to several innovations and contribution from individuals where all stakeholders need to come together. We need more research at micro level for tackling this whole problem of climate change. So I highly appreciate the efforts of Climate Change Department for initiating this series of webinars, and on behalf of Institute of Climate Change Research, the Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda, I thank Sri S.J. Haider Saab for including us as the knowledge partners for this webinar series. I also acknowledge the joining of Ministry of for Environment and Forest as the joint organizers for this webinar series from this webinar onwards, and look forward to more contributions of individuals in the form of micro research for the purpose of climate change mitigation and adaptation. With that, I congratulate Sri V.K. Srivastava Sahib and thank him personally for giving such a innovative, such a wonderful topic for this particular webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ma'am of ICCR. Now I will request Professor Srivastav to give his presentation. Sir, you have around 40 minutes, and now you can your slides also. So we are setting up a slide share to you, sir.
Yep.
Professor Srivastav is the member of the committee of the climate change department. Professor Srivastav is also a committee member and the advisor of Gujarat Pollution Control Board. Sir has more than 2 decades of experience in higher education, and Professor Srivastav has guided many PhD students and MTech students. And we are very thankful to Professor Srivastav to agreeing to deliver on this very important subject. Sir, floor is yours. Kindly deliver your lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shwetal Bhai, for your kind words. Honorable Principal Secretary of Climate Change Department, Shri S.J. Haider Saab, Joint Secretary Shri M.J. Shah Saab, Delegate from JEDA, Bijal Shah Saab, Dr. Sanskriti Mazumdar Ma'am, Ms. Namrata Ginoya, and Dr. Shwetal Shah, and all other participants who are attending this webinar. The theme of entire webinar series is climate change and COVID-19. So before starting, I would like to just quote one chaupai from Ramcharitmanas. That is, Chiti Jal Pavak Gagan Samira Panch Rachit Ati Adham Sarira. इसमें महाकवि तुलसीदास ने जो प्रसंग की बात किया है, उसमें उन्होंने ये समझाने की कोशिश किया है, पृथ्वी, जल, अग्नि, आकाश और वायु, इन 5 तत्वों से हमारा अधम शरीर बना हुआ है, और ये अधम शरीर अच्छे कर्म करने से उच्च कोटि का बन जाता है। अब मैं यहाँ पर अच्छे कर्मों का जो मेरा आशय यहाँ पर है कोट अनकोट करने का, वो इनोवेशन से है, जो कि आज के मेरे वेबिनार का टॉपिक है, दैट इज इनोवेशन इन क्लाइमेट चेंज, adaptation and mitigation. So I hope that we will do all good karmas to make our environment and climate very clean and clear. At this moment, I would like to appreciate Climate Change Department, particularly Haider Saab and his entire team for bringing climate change department of Gujarat at this level. Because I'm associated with the climate change department of other states also, but the climate change department of government of Gujarat, the pace which this department is having, I think no other department in any other state is having this pace. So I heartily congratulate Haider Saab and his entire team for working day and night for making this department active. अभी जो टॉपिक है उसमें आप देखिए कि कोविड की बात है। कोविड के आने से क्या हुआ, वी हैव फेस्ड द लॉकडाउन सिचुएशन, लॉकडाउन 1 2 3 4 एक्सेट्रा, देन वी हैव गॉन फॉर अनलॉक 1 2 3 एक्सेट्रा। अभी इस टॉपिक को मैं दूसरे शब्दों में अगर हिंदी में इसका अनुवाद करके बोलूं तो मैं अपने टॉपिक को इस तरह से भी कुछ बोल सकता हूं, कोरोना काल में पर्यावरण का हाल अथवा कोरोना काल में जलवायु परिवर्तन का हाल, क्लाइमेट चेंज में क्या क्या चेंजेस आए वो बहुत सारे लोगों ने ऑब्जर्व किए। Many of the changes I think all the participants have observed, like people have observed clear blue sky, people have observed appearance of clean air, people have observed huge drop in air pollution, people have seen clear stars and clear sky। और तो और आप अगर इसकी हाइट देखें तो इस कोरोना काल में जब टोटली कंप्लीटली लॉकडाउन था उस समय लोगों ने जालंधर से हिमालय देखा जो कि लगभग 140 किलोमीटर दूर है। ये सारी चीजें जो हैं ये क्या इंडिकेट करती हैं कि हमारी जो ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं पर्यावरण और जलवायु परिवर्तन, एनवायरनमेंट और क्लाइमेट चेंज के लिए जिम्मेदार हैं। If you see the basics of climate change, you will find these human activities mainly they are giving two things. One is increasing emission and other is decreasing sinks. Our anthropogenic activities, they are giving rise to increasing emission and decrease in sinks. Subsequently, increased concentration of greenhouse gases. Whenever we are going for all these anthropogenic activities, as well as industries and all other things which are happening all together, then they are certainly increasing the percentage of greenhouse gases, which leads to global warming and subsequently it leads to climate change. If you see the current scenario, global annual greenhouse gas emission have increased by 41% since 1990. Global mean temperature is increasing 0.2 degrees Celsius per decade. 10 most emitting countries contribute 68.49 to global emission. 73% of the total global GHG emission comes from energy uses in different forms. Means we are heavily consuming the energy and that leads to the emission of greenhouse gases. If you see towards tipping point is a point where a tiny change could push a system into completely new state. So we have to consider this tipping point also, because even 0.1 degree Celsius increase in temperature, that can make a lot of changes, which we are trying to say over here. Broadly, these impacts reflect gradual changes caused by climate, that is steadily warming, from declining Arctic sea ice and record-breaking heat waves to melt glaciers and worsening droughts. The increase in global average temperature is being felt around the world. However, there are parts of Earth system that have potential to change abruptly in response to warming. This is the slide indicating that how much warming we can afford. It is questionable. As already I have told that every 10 years, the 0.2 degree increase in temperature has been observed. So now it is questionable how much temperature increase we can afford. So one of the key messages that comes out very strongly from this report, that is We are already seeing the consequences of 1 degree of global warming through more extreme weather, rising sea levels, and diminishing Arctic sea ice, among other changes. Every extra bit of warming matter, especially since warming of 1.5 degree or higher increase the risk of associated with other long-lasting irreversible changes, such as the loss of some ecosystem that we have to observe and also that we have to notice. As far as the climate change is concerned, in 2015, Paris Agreement was signed, which broadly aims for two common goals. First goal is to hold the rise in global temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius, and second, to pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase even further to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So these were the two objectives which has broadly come out from Paris Agreement. If the temperature is increasing between 1.5 degree to 2 degrees Celsius, what are the consequences which we may have to face? The new targets adopted in Paris reflected a growing conviction among scientists and activists that 2 degree, the target that had served as a kind of default for years, was in no way safe. Climate change at that level would be in fact be extremely dangerous. Thus, the addition of efforts to hit 1.5 degrees Celsius. But it was not until last year that the world really got a clear sense of how much worse 2 degree could be than 1.5 degree. Here is a comparison between 1.5 degree and 2 degree Celsius. After the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC, released a special report on this subject. Just see some of the comparisons. What will happen if the temperature rise in temperature is in between 1 degree Celsius to 2 degrees Celsius. 1 degree is the reference, and we have compared with 1.5 degree and 2 degrees Celsius. If you see the global population exposed to heat at least once in every 5 years, if the temperature rise would be 1.5 degree, 14% people will be affected. And if the temperature rise would be 2 degrees Celsius, 37% people will be affected. And if you see the impact, it is 2.6 times. Similarly, for ice-free Arctic, number of ice-free summers, 1 in 100 years. When the temperature rise would be 2 degree, then it is 1 in 10 years. If you see the impact, it is 10 times. Similarly, for sea level rise, amount of sea level rise by 2100, if the temperature rise would be 1.5 degree, it would be 0.4 meters. And if it would be 2 degrees Celsius, then this sea level rise would be 0.46 meter. The impact would be 0.6 meters more. Similarly, for special laws in vertebrates, you can see if the temperature rises 1.5 degrees Celsius, it is 6%. If it is 2 degrees Celsius, it is 13%, and the impact is 2.5 times. If you see the ecosystem, you will find the amount of earth, land area, where the ecosystem will shift to a new biome. If the temperature rise would be 1.5 degrees Celsius, it will affect the 7%. And if it would be 2 degrees Celsius, it would affect the 13%, and the impact would be 1.86 times worse. Similarly, for permafrost, amount of Arctic permafrost that will thaw, it would be 4.8 if the temperature rises 1.5 degrees Celsius, and it would be 6.6 if the temperature rise would be 2 degrees Celsius. The impact would be 38% worse. Similarly, for crop yield, you can see reduction is in particularly maize harvest in tropics. It will affect 3% if the temperature rises 1.5 degrees Celsius, and it is 7% if the temperature rises 2 degrees Celsius. And the impact would be 2.3 times worse. Similarly, for the case of coral reefs, you can see further decline in coral reefs. We are talking about biodiversity also. If the temperature rise would be 1.5 degrees Celsius, it will affect 70 to 90% people. And if it would be 2 degrees Celsius, it will affect the 99% people. And the impact would be 29% worse. Similarly, in case of fisheries, declining in marine fisheries, if the temperature rise would be 1.5 degrees Celsius, it will affect 1.5 million tons. And if it would be 2 degrees Celsius, it will be 3 mn tons, and the impact would be 2 times worse. While adopting the climate change, what are the things which we have to consider? Even if the limit rise in global temperature, climate change is here to stay. Communities are already facing more extreme and frequent droughts, floods, other weather events, and more drastically, if you talk about natural calamity, we are facing tsunami and earthquakes also. So according to UNEP first adaptation report released in Lima, if the temperature targets are met, the cost of adaptation will be twice the previous estimate of $70 to $100 million per year by 2050. The global temperature exceed the 2-degree ceiling significantly. Adaptation cost could reach double the worst case figure, placing a crippling burden on the world economy. The burden on the adjustment will be borne by everyone, but it will be heaviest for developing countries like India and also for least developed countries and small island developing states. If you see the emission scenario in India, you can see the various sectors like energy, industrial process, agriculture, waste, land use change, and forestry. You can see the emission in metric ton of carbon dioxide emission. If you compare with 1990 figure with 2016 figure, you can see in case of energy, the carbon dioxide emission was 608 metric ton, and in 2016 it was 2193. That is 4 times, you can say. In case of industrial process, in 1990 it was 26, and in 2016 it was 131. It is 5 times. In case of agriculture, it was 567 in 1990, and it was 40704 in 2016. That is 1.3 times. In case of waste, it was 25 and 81 metric ton carbon dioxide. That is 3 times. So you are significantly seeing within, say, the 15-16 years, the data is 4 to 5 times average, you can see over here. This is the addressing, say, the means particularly climate change mitigation, mitigate the climate change while adopting the these changes. We have shown over here all the anthropogenic activities with our Earth system. So you can see over here climate change, that is change in temperature, precipitation, sea level, and extreme events that will lead to, say, the impact and vulnerability, which will affect the ecosystem, water resources, flood security, human health. Further, it will be associated with socio-economic development like governance, literacy, health, jobs, technology, equity, and socio-economic patterns. Also, it will lead to, say, the climate process driver. It will affect, say, the climate process drivers also like greenhouse gas concentration, emission, and aerosols. When we are limiting, say, this 2 degrees Celsius temperature rise, so you can see based on the current science, many policymakers worldwide advocate no more than a 2-degree rise in long-term global temperature as climate policy goal needs to prevent dangerous impacts. So that way you are finding if the 2 degree temperature is increasing, what is happening, how it is affecting. Now I'm coming, say, on my topic. What is the role of invention or innovation when we are going for, say, particularly innovation in case of climate change? So there are 4 different roles you can see, which I have divided into 4 parts. First is reduce the demand for energy in all major sectors. Second is improve the efficiency of energy utilization. Third is replace high carbon fossil fuels. Fourth is capture and sequester the carbon dioxide emitted by the combustion of fossil fuels to prevent its release to the atmosphere. So these are, say, the 4 broad roles which we can cover. And you can see over here, when we are talking about innovation, particularly in these sectors like energy, industry, agriculture, transportation, infrastructure, waste, and service industry, you're finding we have to upgrade it. Means we have to upgrade these sectors just to achieve the target of finding low carbon emission, carbon neutral solutions, and zero carbon options to our existing process. So for that, we have to upgrade, we have to go for the innovations that will lead to low carbon emission, which should be scalable, it should be replicable, it should be marketable, it should be commercial, and also it should be adoptable. So all the way you are finding, I would like to tell you over here, in India, our 65% of the population is within the age group of 35 years. So we are having highest number of youths in our country. But the thing is, we have to use this youth power somewhere for innovation. Our Honorable Prime Minister has already given one formula to become Atmanirbhar. Let us say the sankalpa of our Honorable Prime Minister. Now it is questionable how to become Atmanirbhar. Few people are thinking that this Atmanirbharta is for individuals. But the actual meaning of our Honorable Prime Minister is this Atmanirbharta is for our nation, for our country, for India. So that way you can see over here, if we have to become Atmanirbhar, then what are the things which are really required in form of innovation? So for Atmanirbharta, Atma Gyan is required, Atma Samman is required, Atma Sanyam is required. And if we will integrate all three things, naturally we can go for Atma Nirbharta. So where you are finding say that there is a great role of Atma Gyan, and Atma Gyan is not the say the sort of knowledge which anybody can achieve by birth, but that has to somebody has to learn something. So for that purpose, universities can play a vital role. So here I would like to request all the universities and academic institutions just to mold your students, young graduates for innovation, for startup, for other means projects like Make in India, Made in India, etc., etc. So here we have shown say the scope of innovation for low carbon industry. You can say PLC. This is the product life cycle indicating something towards the product design. We can have the improvement in product design. We can have ethical sourcing of raw material, reducing yield cost, material substitution, efficient process like of manufacturing. Then we can go for transportation, consumption, and disposal. So this is say the total product life cycle where in all the six circles, there is a great scope for innovation. We can have innovation in product design. We can have innovation for reducing the yield cost. We can have innovation in manufacturing. We can have innovation in transportation. We can have innovation in consumption and disposal. This is say the innovation in energy towards green fuel, towards green efficiency. You can see over here conventional pathway. Our conventional pathway is energy production, fossil fuel dependent, then energy consumption, old techniques, inefficient energy uses and wastage, then increasing greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, then global warming and climate change. So this is our conventional pathway, but what is desired, what is required, that I'm going to tell you over here. Say the low carbon pathway, energy production, renewable energy sources, means now we have to go for renewable energy sources rather than being dependent on fossil fuel. Energy, in case of energy consumption, we should go for newer technology, smart and efficient installation rather than having old techniques, inefficient energy uses and wastage. For means we should go for decrease in greenhouse gases emission in the atmosphere and avoiding the 2-degree threshold. This is what is required by for low carbon pathway. Innovation potential in energy sector, you can see energy generation, power plant, in case of energy distribution, transformers, control voltage, transformers are used for control voltage, and transmission lines means there is a great loss in T&D transmission and distribution, that also we need to see. Then energy consumption means if we are improving all these three things, then naturally the end user can say get the benefit of all these innovations. Now I'm going to show you some of the case studies which would be really very helpful for all the participants to learn. These are say the really our innovation in the field of climate change. The first case study which I'm going to tell you, it is regarding, say, the canal top solar power plant. Means, for installing the solar power plants, we require a huge area of land which is not easily available. So means it was an innovation, means people have tried to put, say, the solar panel on canals so that we don't require a separate piece of land for the installation of separate means solar panels, and subsequently we can produce the huge amount of energy from here. Second is, say, the 100% renewable energy sourcing. The example I'm quoting here, that is example of Diu. Diu is the one union territory of India, which has population of around 56,000. The union territory has a very small area of 42 square kilometer. Despite scarcity of the land, more than 50 acres of the land has been used for energy generation through solar panels. So this way means these are the things which are required if we really want to go for innovations, and whatever the innovations are taking place, people should be ready to accept it. This is the recent example, means you are finding over here very colorful stadium, Sardar Patel Stadium, which is known as Sardar Patel Solar Stadium. Recently, our Honorable Prime Minister and the President of USA, Mr. Trump, they have inaugurated it, so everybody is aware about it. The roof of this stadium is totally covered by solar panels, and whatever the energy we are producing over there, so that energy is the huge energy, and no carbon emission at all, as we are using these solar panels. Then the third case study which I'm going to present before you, that is, say, the use of solar wind and storage, solar wind hybrid type of model for energy production. You can see over here, this is the innovation in energy production and storage. India is set to establish its first solar and wind hybrid power station in Andhra Pradesh. The hybrid energy production system also comes with the storage system. You can see 41 megawatts of power and 25 from solar and 16 from wind that is being produced. That way it becomes 41, and it's the hybrid technology. So when we talk about innovation, we should not focus for the single technology. If it is, say, the combination of two or more technologies, that will give better options. The next case study is regarding, say, the thorium-based nuclear power plant. India is the first country to successfully design a working nuclear power plant which use thorium as its fuel. Again, we are going towards the green energy, although thorium is the radioactive material. This reactor is named Advanced Heavy Water Reactor, AHWR in short. Then you can see over here the cross-cutting, adaptation and mitigation. This example is Ishita robotic system. You can see over here it is impacting plastic recycling industry using artificial intelligence enabled air sorter. The team of Ahmedabad-based startup has introduced a artificial intelligence-based segregation system, which can segregate 5 tons of solid waste in 1 hour. You can imagine the thing, sort of innovation that people are doing, and they are from the Ahmedabad. So you can see Gujarat is the land where more number of innovations are taking place because the government is giving good support to all young graduates. Here you are finding the people tree. This people tree, you can see again, this is patented technology developed by Ashik, a third-year student of automobile engineering at then in Sagar College of Engineering, address the problem of high concentration of particulate matter in the air. So they have prepared a device which collects the soot particles in the designated chamber. It is separated and it can be utilized to manufacture printer inks, paints, tires, etc. Means sort of nanoparticles and soot particles, whatever they are collecting. These particles further they can be used. It is not only, say, the purification of air, but whatever the material they are collecting, that material can be used for manufacturing the printer ink, paint, tires, etc. This is another case study showing, say, the milk cooling pail. Mr. Ravi Prakash, a good research student, scholar I would call, he has invented. The innovation is designated to cool the milk in the field using nanofluid-based phase change material, and it is of great socio-economic importance to small farmers. This innovation is, really for the society, because farmers in the villages, they don't have, say, the cooling system, refrigeration system, etc. But this gentleman has developed something for the food security, particularly for the livelihood in the rural area due to climate change. And the wastage of food is very serious problem. So that is also addressed by his innovation. This is the cross-cutting adaptation and mitigation model. You can see again, one invention means if the tube light is fused, usually we are trying that. And this gentleman, you are finding he is developing some techniques. Because of that, you can use the fused tube light also. And also because of the use of LEDs, means we have reduced, say, the carbon emissions because the power consumed is less while we are using the LEDs. This is, say, the cross-cutting adaptation and mitigation EcoFrost. It is the portable solar-based cold storage. For food waste due to unavailability of cold storage is a great problem for both food security and also for our economy. To provide cold storage in rural areas is difficult due to availability of electricity. So you can see, means what is happening over here. The problem was addressed by a team of 3 students from IIT Kharagpur. The innovative solution used solar technology to address the electricity dependency and made it portable for farmer to move the storage as per the requirement. And this innovation has won several awards and are working with NABARD for rural development. So what I mean to point out over here, like whatever the innovations we are doing, it should be, all these innovations should fulfill the requirement of Indian society. Because whatever research we are doing, it should be used by society, then only we can say this innovation is useful. Otherwise, it will be useless, I would say. So for that type of innovation, what really is required? That is, say, the some sort of collaborative research is required. When we talk about collaborative research or team-based research, then we have to see the components. What are the components, learned components in our society? If they will come together, then naturally the outcome would be drastically changed, which we cannot imagine. So one combination which I have planned and we are using in our Sakal Chand Patel University also, that is, if we will have, say, the collaboration of industry with the academia and in partnership with the government and also in association with the research centers. So we are having research centers, we are having means government support, we are having industries, we are having academic institution, but hardly these four entities are coming together. So there is a need, if we really want to go for good innovation, these four entities have to come together so that we can get better outcome, particularly in case of innovations in climate change. And also, if we will do so, we can solve the problem of employability also. And teamwork is always the resultant of contribution of all. Teamwork means everybody is competing over there. So over here, I would like to quote two lines in Hindi. You have seen in Samandar we are having plenty of water. क्योंकि समंदर में भले ही पानी अपार है, क्योंकि समंदर में भले ही पानी अपार है, पर सच तो ये है कि वो नदियों का उद्धार है. हमारा कोई भी टीम वर्क से जो भी आउटकम आता है वो हमारा इंडिविजुअल का नहीं होता, उसमें बहुत सारे लोगों का उद्धार यानी कि बहुत सारे लोगों का कंट्रीब्यूशन होता है. तो हम इस चीज को ध्यान रखें और इस कंट्रीब्यूशन को हम इस हिसाब से आगे बढ़ाएं. अगला जो एग्जांपल है, डेट इज केस स्टडी ऑफ फूड सिक्योरिटी. You can see over here indoor farming means doesn't require piece of land. You can see within our houses we are able to do some sort of global harvest initiative predicts that by the year 2030 agricultural production will only meet 59% of the India's total demand. On the other hand, Niti Aayog report suggests that the country's water demand will be twice the supply, implying severe water scarcity. So this type of innovation will again, it will be helpful for reducing the impact on climate change. You can see over here, it's say the sort of innovation in waste reduction and cleanup, means great bubble barrier. This is a video which probably it is not being run. You can see by introducing the bubble in the sea surface, we can collect, say, the sort of plastic waste, whatever is people are throwing on sea, and ultimately we can cover it. Every minute the equivalent of one full garbage truck of plastic trash is dumped in the sea. That is 1440 trucks per 24 hours, and in total 8 million kilos per year, with 80% of those plastic coming directly from the land. By this innovation, you can collect those plastics which are being thrown on the sea surface, and that can be collected by this innovation. We are talking about solar panel installations. So one new paint has been innovated. It has been invented by someone. This spray paint means you can spray the solar paint on any surface. So that surface itself can be used for generating the electricity. So this is another innovation which you can see over here. Another innovation in which government of Gujarat, particularly climate change department, is also planning to do something. It is, say, the use of electrical vehicle. Already climate change department of Gujarat, they are providing electrical vehicles, e-scooter, to the first year students of college, those who are taking admission, so that we can make our campus clean, and also we can reduce the carbon emission by the use of this. So now the time has come when we should go for the use of electrical vehicles. Naturally, for that purpose, these charging stations are required. So you can see over here, this is means a solar car, means it is designed and prepared at Sankalchand Patel University. So it is our own innovation. We can see this is the prototype which is developed to test the self-charging model for electric cars through solar photovoltaic. So this way you can see universities are also contributing, academic institutions are also contributing for some innovations. This is, say, the solar charging station. This is also required at everywhere. And one more thing which we can do, particularly for schools, we can take this project, and sometimes we were discussing in climate change department also. Schools buses, particularly, I'm talking about the school buses. Huge number of school buses are running every day. I'm not talking about lockdown period, this period, but before Corona, before COVID, you have seen huge number of school buses are running, and they are consuming huge quantity of fossil fuels, and subsequently releasing huge amount of carbon dioxide, so increasing, say, the carbon emission. So if we can have, say, the buses operated by this means e-buses, if we can have, and charging station we can put in the schools. So after leaving the students at their home, the entire night buses are stationed at school. So that is the good time for charging. And next day morning, again, when they are going to bring the students, again the battery is charged. So this concept can be used particularly for the schools. This is, say, the solar tree. Means taking less space and means generating more power. Also in Gujarat, everywhere you have seen, say, the solar rooftops. Government is promoting this scheme. Particularly, I would like to congratulate Zeta for means contributing a lot. So Zeta is also doing wonderful job, particularly for solar rooftops and for the use of solar energy. This is another case study of tidal energy. Means again, we are talking about the green energy where there is no carbon emission. So you can see over here innovation in case of renewable energy. This is the geothermal energy and biomass energy. Again, we are talking about reduced carbon emission or no carbon emission. Now we are going towards the innovation and adaptation. Lack of innovation, you can see over here in general scenario, the economics of the invention plays a very important role while translating it to a successful innovation. The lack of innovation in adaptation can be understood from the figure that the share of climate change adaptation inventions in 2015 is roughly the same as it was in 1995. So you can see in 20 years, the figure is almost same. So at this time, there is a great scope for innovations. We can go for innovations. As far as the funding from government agencies are concerned and funding from other agencies are concerned, you can see over here the share of funding goes to projects like renewable energy system, energy efficiency projects, and sustainable transportation. As per the assessment done by Climate Policy Initiative, overall 22 billion in a year has been spent on adaptation related projects, while $436 billion were spent on mitigation related activities. Now the time has come. We should not only focus for say this energy system and energy efficiency projects, but at the same time, the effort to tackle climate change goes beyond transforming energy system. It includes spending on reforestation, coastal defense system, and many other efforts to cut emission and adapt to rising temperature. Spending on adaptation efforts is particularly low according to analysis. Renewable energy projects now have a pretty good rate of return. So it means investing in green energy, it would be a wonderful idea. It would be a brilliant idea. If somebody is planning to invest, they are having some money. This particular sector is very useful and the rate of return is also very high. So people should think to invest in green energy. These are say the major barriers for innovations. When we are talking about innovations, these are say the major barriers. Great deal of adaptation involves restoration of natural system and strengthening the functional system. Adaptation strategies tends to be highly local in many cases. Replication of strategies is difficult due to diversities of complex ecosystem and the dependent on communities. The returns obtained from the investment in adaptation are difficult to monetize. Providing feasible options for greenhouse gas reduction. Costly action by firms or individuals to reduce their greenhouse gas emission provide little or no tangible value to that firm or person. So thus, it is suggested, particularly for the policy, it should be say the two types of policy measures. One is voluntary measure and other is mandatory measure, so that it becomes very important that government provides a platform in the form of sizable market for their product or service. Hence, it is very critical that measure to enhance returns to policy instrument and introduced by governing body. While I was talking about the investment, I would like to tell you investment in green energy is a golden opportunity. Those who are planning to invest, they can go for investment in green energy. Means the future would be of green energy. तो उसके लिए मैं फिर से एक बार अपने विद्यार्थी मित्रों से ये निवेदन करना चाहूँगा, उनसे ये आग्रह करना चाहूँगा कि आप अपने आप को जानिए, अपने अंदर के पोटेंशियल को पहचानिए, अपने आप को जानिए, अपने आप को मानिए, अपने आत्मविश्वास को बढ़ाइए और इनोवेशन से अपने देश भारत को आत्मनिर्भर बनाइए। ये कुछ और पॉलिसीज हैं जो आप देख रहे हैं, पॉलिसी ऑप्शंस दैट कैन फोस्टर टेक्नोलॉजी इनोवेशंस। दीज आर से द टेक्नोलॉजी पॉलिसी ऑप्शंस, डायरेक्ट गवर्नमेंट फंडिंग ऑफ नॉलेज जनरेशन, direct or indirect support of commercialization and production, knowledge dissemination and learning, and these are say the regulatory policy options. Now again, I'm coming to the role of universities and institutions as I'm leading one university, that is Sakal Chand Patel University. So what is the role of universities in today's scenario? Fostering the new breed of innovators through startup, social entrepreneurship, and other ventures of their own creations. This is say the need of hour. We should go for it. Encourage the collaboration with private and government agencies to carry forward the research and development, facilitate the transfer of technology to the industry. We are developing the technologies, but again, like earlier, I have requested that whatever the technology we are inventing, it should be useful for the society. and whatever technology we are developing, it should be transferred to the industry so that real commercialization will take place over there. Create a space for open exploration of ideas and invention like SSIP. I request to all the universities and academic institutions to open research parks because the strength is great. You are having human capital, the minds, say the mind power you are having, but you have to use that mind power, which will lead to certain innovations. These are, say, the support of innovations. You can see simple process support for patents, fund pools, tax exemptions, tenders, etc., etc. This is to promote the innovation. Again, facility for R&D. We are again telling about the research parks to select investors for tax saving, easy exit policies, networking platform. These are, say, the initiative. I would like to just give 2 minutes for these because when we talk about innovations, government is having n number of schemes, but hardly we are aware about these schemes. So I would like to appreciate our government, means particularly Gujarat government as well as government of India, for introducing so many schemes for our innovators. These schemes are Stand Up India, Startup India, Make in India, Atal Innovation Mission, PRISM Technopreneur Promotions Program, Multiplier Grant Scheme, Aspire Scheme for Promotion of Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Agro Industry, Bio Incubators, Student Startup and Innovation Policies, which most of the universities are having this SSIP cell and their cells are working properly. In our university also, we are having 67 startup projects which are going on. This is initiative taken to support the innovations in India, NASCOM, 10,000 startup program, Unlimited India, Zone Startups, MET Innovation Incubators, Amrita TBI, some more schemes like Global Innovation Funds, Fulbright Grant for Innovation, Climate Launchpad, Climate Change Innovation Grant by Yale Center for Business and Environment, Climate Innovation Fund by Institute of Sustainable Communities, Adaptation Fund, Innovation Grant, etc. Now, finally, I'm coming to the conclusion. What are our recommendation to the government of Gujarat, particularly to the climate change department? We are organizing wonderful webinars, but at the end, we should come out with some recommendation. What is really required? What sort of support we are means expecting from the government, or what sort of support government is expecting from academic institutions? We should conduct, say, the awareness sessions, particularly training sessions and capability building sessions in the field of climate change. We should promote STEM education and the scope of opportunity in rural areas, especially for female students. Outreach program to the rural areas where there is a great potential for local innovation about the schemes and support available for the local innovators. You have seen many of the inventions or innovations which I have discussed. They were mainly supporting our rural area. So that is what is required. We should create a collaborative R&D environment for researchers by the collaboration of private entities, industries, and government agencies for holistic development. This is the quote by our late President, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, which every time I used to quote, and it is very much applicable, particularly for innovations. Waves are my inspirations, not because they rise and fall, but whenever they fall, they rise again. And it usually happens in the career of innovators and researchers. Whenever they are trying to do something, something goes wrong and they feel bad. So I just request to all the researchers and innovators, you should not feel bad. That is, say, the sort of thing which is happening after fall, there is a rise, which you should learn from the waves, which Honorable APJ Abdul Kalam has already told. So this way you have seen means how the innovations can be taken ahead. At last, I will just finish my talk with a single line of Sanskrit sloka, that is Tvam Trata Twamu no Vradhu Bhu. That is what God is only our protector and source of success. If we want to get success in the case of innovations, God is always with us. We have to simply make our efforts. Thank you very much to Climate Change Department, particularly Heather Saab and MJ Shah Saab, for giving me this opportunity. Means I have told that हम अच्छे कर्म करेंगे innovations के form में, तो सारा कुछ अपने आप से उसमें cover होने वाला है. तो आप इस हिसाब से आगे बढ़िए और देश के उज्जवल भविष्य में युवाओं का जो योगदान होना चाहिए उसमें अपना योगदान दीजिए. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Srivastav sir, for taking us to a great journey of innovation across the sectors. Now I will request Namrata to her slides and give her remarks on the today's topic. Namrata is from World Resources Institute. Namrata, you have around 10 minutes.
Hello.
Namrata, please.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Shah. First of all, thank you to the Climate Department, especially Mr. Heather, Mr. Bijal Shah, Mr. Shwetal Shah, and of course, I'd also like to thank Dr. Srivastava and Dr. Majumdar for sharing their innovative ideas with us. It is an honor to share the virtual stage with you. I will focus on innovative approaches developed to support various stakeholders with inputs from these stakeholders themselves. I will be focusing on four topics. The first is data for informed decision-making, mainstreaming adaptation, landscaping restoration for mitigation and adaptation, and finally, resilient renewable energy sources. In 2018, we launched the portal prepdata.org to support decision makers access data to design resilience programs and projects. Now, why was this portal needed? Access to useful, timely, and credible data is very poor. Current data landscape is very confusing and fragmented. Available climate data sets are not very user-friendly. And there is a lack of feedback mechanisms between data providers and users. And finally, you need a lot of different kinds of data for resilience planning. As you can see, you can explore various relevant data sets, starting with climate data. This is a screenshot of the portal. The portal also includes socioeconomic, demographics, and infrastructure-related data sets. Actually, I would have liked to show you the live use of the portal, but low bandwidth sort of makes it a bit difficult right now. So I will continue sharing screenshots of this portal to show you how to use this. Here is an example of Uttarakhand. For the state, we have a detailed mapping of the regions that are under risk of flooding. All of these data sources are mentioned on the website. So if you'd like, you can check those out as well. Now, along with flood mapping, you can switch on the other data sets that are there, like landslide risk and historical landslide events. Then you can add infrastructure points to it, such as airports, railway stations. And then again, you can see the addition of road network and medical facilities. Now, why would anyone want to look at these data sets? If you all remember, in 2013, Uttarakhand experienced one of the worst flooding events. This led to landslides, loss of life, and property. This kind of mapping can help devise evacuation plans and also support the government in identifying high-risk zones. Similarly, in Madhya Pradesh, I will show you the use of completely different data sets. MP, as you all know, is very famous for its wheat. This map here shows the total area under cultivation in each district in 2000 and 2001. Now, this one here shows the area under cultivation in 2015 and 16. You can see a marked increase in almost all the districts, especially in North and the West. Now, when we overlay this with Water Resources Vulnerability Index, which is commissioned by the state government, you can see that the Western districts will continue to face more risk. Now, these regions already have high groundwater extraction and poor recharge rates. So why does all this matter again? Wheat is a very water intensive crop, which requires about 450 to 650 mm of water just during the growing season. With this kind of data, decision makers, along with farmers, can make important choices around cropping patterns and water management. And this is one tool on resilience. This one is the other one, which is currently in the process of development, which is called the Energy Access Explorer. Now, who is it for? It's for energy entrepreneurs who can use this platform to access demographic, socioeconomic data, which can indicate consumer ability to pay for electricity. It can also identify gaps in the market and opportunities. Electrification planning agencies can use the platform to explore the potential for grid extension and also off-grid systems. And other investors, donors, can use these platforms to identify the need, especially the CSR ones, can identify areas that need funding to meet development goals, especially around energy access, education, etc. As you can see, the tool currently focuses on institutional loads such as health, education, and rural livelihoods. It will allow for various analysis that can help decision makers assess energy demand and provide appropriate solutions for access. It is currently under development, and Jharkhand will be the first state that we are developing it for, but obviously we aim to continue to scale this as well. Now, notably, data plays an important role in making all of these informed decisions. I'll move on to the mainstreaming part, which uses all of this data that I've shared earlier to support governments in mainstreaming adaptation. We know how important it is to include climate considerations in development programs. It has the potential to improve resilience of development outcomes. But mainstreaming actually requires coordination among multiple different actors, institutions, and processes, which make the journey from paper to action on ground very slow. And one of the major reasons is the lack of finance. But that is what makes overall mainstreaming the only logical action left for us. As Professor Srivastava mentioned earlier, there is extremely limited amount of finance available for adaptation. Thus, mainstreaming is really important right now. Now, what we did, already there are a lot of tools that exist to support this kind of endeavor. We analyzed what could enable mainstreaming to go into action on the ground. Our research shows that policy frameworks, leadership, coordination mechanism, different kinds of tools, and finances can help bridge this implementation gap. Sustained and persistent leadership from inside and outside the government, including political leaders, bureaucrats, universities, civil society organization is needed to bring this into action. Policy frameworks that are there can only help when they contain mechanisms for accountability or enforcement. We also need coordination mechanisms between various governments. It is a must to improve efficiency and reduce maladaptation. Regular capacity building and access to information provides support to decision makers and implementers, which can then help them include these new innovations into their regular development practices. And finally, financial processes should encourage decision makers to consider climate risks, as well as identify, track, and cover costs of adaptation. Without financial support, well-laid plans generally don't see the light of day. Now, further, during our research, we found an example of programmatic mainstreaming in the Department of Animal Husbandry in Madhya Pradesh. In 2010, the department was concerned about its future milk production when assessments revealed that productivity of exotic breeds of cattle was declining. So what they did was, during the SFPCC consultations that started soon after, the department found out that increased temperatures caused heat stress and affected productivity. So they decided to gradually phase out exotic varieties and started investing in climate resilient species and fodder production. Here you can see how evidence was used along with support from the climate cell, state leadership, and line departments to roll out programs which incentivize farmers to opt for indigenous cattle. This clearly shows that when agencies can use the existing resources to mainstream climate change into development, and they can use it only when they come together to work on the same. Moving on to landscape restoration. As you all know, forests play an important role in providing us with food, water, carbon capture opportunities, and also help in reducing flood and landslide risk. Hence, our approach includes protecting primary forests to continue getting the benefits mentioned earlier. It also includes restoring degraded lands via initiatives such as agroforestry and silvopasture through community involvement. India already has a huge amount of degraded land, which continues to increase every day. So our landscape restoration team developed a restoration opportunities atlas of India a few years back. It helps answer 4 questions. Where can forest and tree cover be protected and increased, and how much carbon sequestration will this result in? Which tree-based restoration interventions have been implemented? Who has implemented these projects? And what are the necessary enabling conditions that need to be in place? And what risks addressed to restore this land? Here, these 2 maps show you the land that is available for different kinds of restoration. And the different kinds of risks are posed to the restoration activities. Calculations show that even just 20% increase in tree cover in cultivated lands can capture anywhere between 3 to 4.3 billion tons of above ground carbon by 2040. Thus, you can see how restoration can help us achieve not just mitigation goals, but also adaptation goals as well. And finally, the resilient energy solutions. This is a cross-cutting issue. There is a huge demand for renewable energy application for grid, as well as in decentralized format. As I mentioned earlier, we are focusing on improving energy access for livelihoods, health sector, and education. In 2017, the government data showed that 37% of schools and 26% of health sub-centers are unelectrified. There is no data available on reliability of electricity. This is just about access. Many organizations and government departments are filling this gap with decentralized solar installations. We are trying to find ways to make these solutions resilient as well. We forget that mitigation solutions will also be affected by climate change. What you see here is a floating solar installation in a family's pond in Assam. They have designed it in a way that it rises as the water rises in the pond during flooding season. Similarly, the second picture shows Public Health Engineering Department in Rajasthan is using solar to provide drinking water to remote villages in Jaisalmer. Most of these designs are based on current local conditions, but they don't consider future climate vulnerability. We are supporting them and different kinds of such installation designers, implementers, vendors, government institutions to include climate data in design, operation, and maintenance of these systems so that these are also resilient. It is not enough to design installations based on current flood levels or current water scarcity levels. We need to understand that these will be affected by climate change, and we would want these to be functional when they are most needed. So this was my final thing, but overall, our approach is to support development which considers future uncertainties. Currently, governments are spending trillions of dollars responding to coronavirus. Thus, rebuilding the old way is not just dangerous, but it also threatens human well-being. Future prosperity sort of demands us to build back better, and you all can follow our work on this on our website and social media. But please join us for the next webinar also, where a lot of the work that I've shared, especially around which considers water management, will be presented by my friend and colleague Sahana on the 24th of the webinar. Finally, I'd like to thank the Climate Change Department of Gujarat for having me, and I hope this knowledge sharing continues and other states follow your lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Namrata, for your. Thank you. So we will now take some. Rana Pujari, you can ask your question.
थैंक यू श्वेतल जी, बहुत अच्छा लगा आज का सेशन. थैंक्स अ लॉट फॉर टू ऑल द स्पीकर्स. मेरे दो सवाल हैं. एक तो ये है कि will there be any substantial or significant impact on funding for research and development or innovation due to COVID in India? उस पे क्या कोई मेजर इम्पैक्ट हम देख रहे हैं? और सेकंड, जैसे आत्मनिर्भर भारत का हमारा जो स्ट्रेटेजी है इंडियन गवर्नमेंट का, उसमें 3-4 या आई थिंक 5 फेजेस हैं. तो उसमें कहीं भी आई थिंक अभी करेंटली इस फेज में करेंटली कहीं ग्रीन रिकवरी की बात नहीं है. कहीं भी देयर इज नो मेंशन ऑफ ग्रीन रिकवरी, और आई थिंक देयर इज ओनली वन मेंशन ऑफ pushing for investment in solar PV, I guess, and battery storage. But I would also like to know your thoughts, one of the speakers' thoughts on this. Should there be a component of green recovery in Atmanirbhar Bharat? Will this be a major strategy going forward? That's it. Thank you. Thanks, Shadil ji, again.
Yeah. Srivastav sir, if you want to comment.
Yeah. It's a really very good question. I would appreciate because every time we are focusing for green recovery. May I know the name of a person who?
Rana.
Acha, Mr. Rana. Mr. Rana, I would like to tell you, always the policy of governments are based on the need of society, right? I will comment upon it like presently we are facing the problem of COVID. That is our theme is the theme of CCD. COVID has changed our society drastically. Particularly, it has changed our mindset also. So, if you see the social impact on it, naturally, it's a great impact, I would say. So, government is also now will be involved in policy making. While they are making the policy, they will not think only for green recovery, but certainly they will think about entire environment. Like I have told you about all 5 components: Cheti, Jal, Pavak, Gagan, Samira. तो उसमें पांचों कंपोनेंट्स में कहाँ कैसे सुधार करना है जिससे कि हमको क्लाइमेट चेंज में पर्टिकुलरली हमको उसका फायदा मिलना चाहिए. तो एक ही कंपोनेंट पे ये निर्भर नहीं रहेगा. और जब भी आप आत्मनिर्भर भारत की बात कर रहे हैं तो ये तो 5 एलिमेंट्स ऐसे हैं जिसके बिना हम और आप कोई भी रह ही नहीं सकते. तो जब भी हम बात करेंगे तो इन पांचों कंपोनेंट्स की बात करेंगे. और आई थिंक कि सरकार के भी कुछ मतलब ऑफिशियल्स डेलीगेट्स यहाँ पर इस सेमिनार में शामिल हैं. वो हम लोगों की आवाज को सरकार तक पहुंचाएंगे और जब भी पॉलिसीज का डिसीजन होगा तो उसमें सारे कंपोनेंट्स पे ध्यान दिया जाएगा. ना कि केवल ग्रीन रिकवरी की बात हम करेंगे। नेचुरली कार्बन एमिशन तो हमको रिड्यूस करना है, उसको हर हाल में करना है। उसके लिए जो भी प्रयास जरूरी होंगे ग्रीन रिकवरी से लगते हुए भी, वो तो चालू ही रहेंगे। साथ ही साथ कुछ एडिशनल एफर्ट्स भी होंगे। आई थिंक यू आर सेटिस्फाइड मिस्टर राणा?
Yes, sir. I think we will take only few questions today because I think our time is over. We had earlier communicated that we will finish our webinar by 1:30, but since we started little late, so we are taking a couple of questions. I will request Mr. J.K. Vyas if he is available.
Yes, Setal bhai, I'm here. My
Yes,
question is
please,
to
please, sir.
my question is to Dr. Sivasa. How are you, sir?
Sir, I'm fine. If you can switch on your camera, I can see you because I have not seen you since long.
Oh, sure, sure. Just 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Yes. Can you see me now?
Yes, sir, I can see you. Seeing you after a long time.
Long time. We were Setal bhai, we were together where
Sir,
Sivasa
please
was.
question. Please
Yeah.
come to the question.
Yes, yes. So my question is limiting population and eradication poverty. These were the two very important topics earlier when we used to talk about the environment and the climate change and all that. But now, I mean, these days, the emphasis is not being given. So we reconsider these issues so that the climate change issues are fully addressed too. Yes.
Yes, Vyas Sahab, you have raised a valid point, in fact, because whenever we are talking about environment and climate change, so all the preventive measures which we are thinking, it is always in terms of energy, this, that, all the things. But the basic, if you see, what is the basic of all this carbon emission? Why day by day carbon emission is increasing and global warming problem we are facing? One of the main problem is our population. Everybody is thinking for curing the thing, but the prevention part, what is the root cause? Means somewhere we have to take care, means we have to keep control on our population also, because day by day it is increasing, demands are increasing, needs are increasing, which leads all the way, means it may be transportation, it may be energy requirement, it may be any other requirement, and subsequently consumption is also increasing in more gross domestic product. If you see, means people are demanding more things, so subsequently it is leading more carbon emission. So my only suggestion would be to add one more point, that is the control on our population too.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, Falguni Ben, you can ask your question now.
Okay, thank you, Shwetal bhai. My question is actually many academic institutes are doing very good innovations, but we cannot able to see the practical uses. So what we can do to improve the situation?
Yeah, Namrata, you can answer.
Yeah. Actually, as Professor Srivastava already mentioned, you need a lot of coordinating agencies, different kinds of agencies, universities, government, industries, everybody to work together. And this was the point he highlighted, as well as I in my presentation as well, that unless different kinds of stakeholders come together, these kinds of solutions will never be able to scale up. These will remain pilots. And pilots are not actually useful for the large scale populations. These are only helpful for a few people. And I would actually suggest the only people who can actually make this happen is the government, even though we want this not to be put on government, but the scale can only be achieved via government. So I would say that supportive policies for industries and innovators would be very helpful.
I would like to add whatever Amrita has told with respect to Falguni's questions. Falguni, you have raised a very valid point, means whatever the innovations are taking place, whether they are really useful for the society or not. I would like to quote few examples. Like Corona or COVID-19, which is the theme of this webinar, you can see in India, earlier if you see, we were not preparing masks, or if we were producing, it was a very limited number. We were not producing sanitizers. If we were producing, it was a very small quantity. We were producing PPEs, but the number was very small. But based on the situation, now the things are changed. You will be surprised to know India is the country, means second largest country producing PPEs. Earlier we were importing the PPEs, now we are in situation to export the PPEs. Similarly, in case of sanitizers, means even our university has produced say some sort of herbal sanitizer. So this type of innovations are coming, which is really required for the society. And I personally, I always appeal to all researchers, whatever the research you are doing, it should be to make our country आत्मनिर्भर. आप आत्मनिर्भर की बात करते हैं तो अपने देश की जरूरतों को समझिए, अपने कंट्री की जरूरतों को समझिए और रिसर्च वो करिए जो देश के लिए उपयोगी। धन्यवाद।
Sir, we are getting so many interesting questions, but I think due to time shortage, we'll take just last comment from Dr. Bhavna Pathak, and then I'll invite Joint Secretary to sum up.
Okay.
Bhavna ma'am? Nothing?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Very good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to ask my question. My question is with Srivastava, sir. Sir, it's a very nice presentation about the innovation and innovation activities. You have very importantly, you have shared all the information. So my question is that only that, yes, we are very much agreed that innovation is one of the most important area where we can mitigate the climate change aspect. I just only want to know, as we are aware about that, people perception and people participation is very much important to implement any innovation and technology. So could you please throw on this particular aspect, sir? Could you please highlight that?
Bhavna ma'am, I have already told that research is say the sort of teamwork. Means I have already highlighted the stakeholders also, like industry is one stakeholder, government is another stakeholder, academic institutions are the third stakeholder, and the fourth stakeholder is our research institutions, where the only research is taking place. Like Namrata will also be agree with me, means all these entities are working separately, and the need of our is all four entities have to come together. There won't be say the great innovation or great research without say, the collaboration of all four stakeholders. So I request that all four stakeholders should come together so that our nation can become Atmanirbhar.
Sir,
Can I add to that, sir?
Sir, I will have to apologize other speakers and the participants since we are not able to take their question one by one. But we have some interesting question in the chat box. So when we will document this series, we will try to address the questions then. Now I will request Shri Mukesh Shah, the Joint Secretary of the department, to kindly give a vote of thanks.
क्लाइमेट चेंज डिपार्टमेंट के द्वारा एक वेबिनार सीरीज आयोजित की जा रही है, उसका आज ये थर्ड वेबिनार था। और इस वेबिनार में डिपार्टमेंट के प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी श्री हैदर सर और डायरेक्टर जेडा श्री विजय शाह सर ने अपना वैल्यूएबल टाइम निकाल के इस वेबिनार को जो एड्रेस किया, तो उनके लिए मैं उनका शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ। प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर श्रीवास्तव सर, संस्कृति मैम और नम्रता मैम ने भी इस वेबिनार में जो इंटरेस्टिंग और वैल्यूएबल जो इंफॉर्मेशन उनकी स्पीच में जो दी है, तो उनका भी मैं शुक्रिया अदा करता हूं। और इस वेबिनार की लोकप्रियता धीरे धीरे बढ़ रही है और उसमें पार्टिसिपेंट होने वाले सभी पार्टिसिपेंट की संख्या भी धीरे धीरे बढ़ रही है। तो आज इस वेबिनार में जितने भी पार्टिसिपेंट ने पार्ट लिया उन सबका भी मैं शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ। जय हिंद।